trying to say. So flatten, extract, clean, make nice, right? Pivot table, any of these sort of like words, it'll understand, right? And it'll be able to do. So what it's doing here is that it's going through and reading, okay, what are the documents? What are the folders? How do I do financial audit? How do I clean a GL? How do I interact with this file? It's actually looking at the document itself and looking at the columns, right, here of this document, right? And what it's doing here is that just from your one sentence, it will automatically know all of this behavior and it can go and start figuring out, right? Because it's AI, I can actually run and start a completely new task. So even though this is already running, I can hit a new task and I can do a completely different thing. So, you know, does it have to be PDF? The answer is no, it can be any sort of file format, right? So I have other types of Excels, of ledgers where it's something like this, right? I think a lot of us are sort of familiar. It's in Excel, but it's not clean, right? And then we have to sort of edit and clean this up. There's a lot of like double line descriptions. There's a lot of like merge cells and all of this, right? But it can actually interact with all of it and clean into one file like this. All right, so it becomes one complete flat tabular file, right, like this. In fact, in this particular case, it managed to extract that little ding sound. It has a pop-up, but it also finished this one like this. Right? And this was the 650 page PDF. It extracted like this, right, into an Excel. So I think mine was extra fast because it has memory from like all the previous jobs that it's done. It's done similar like client files before. I think typically it takes like 10 minutes, but it runs on autopilot, right? It just automatically happens, and it actually says what pages it comes from, what are the rows of data, what is the source row, all of this. All you need is like the key transaction description, right, and your debit, credit, and all of this, right? So any kind of like from the baseline, any kind of like data extraction, cleaning, pivot table, consolidation, Excel, PDF, XML, whatever kind of file formats, and consolidate into one, our product can do, right? You don't need to remember, oh, Excel, I need the macro, PDF, I need Alteryx, none of this. Like you can just like one type chat and say clean, extract anything, and the product can do, right? Now, if you don't even know how to interact with it well and how do I use this well, you can even say things like, I am a new auditor to this product. What can you do for me? I am a associate. I typically do vouching. How do I write prompts for AnyGraph? Right? I can sort of say it in plain English, and it can articulate back, right? So based on all of this, it's like, okay, functionally, these are like the vouching kind of tasks. This is how I can compare. How do I write good prompts? And here are some examples of this, right? What are all the skills you have? What audit workflows can you do for me? Give me a list. Right? I can sort of say that, and it'll be able to go through and explain as well. Right? So this is all not just a general AI simply say and invent, right? This is specifically because we've written and developed these capabilities, right? So within financial audit and statutory audit, these are the capabilities we have already, right? But all of these are sort of interrelated. So I think a big example of this that I want to go through and share is most critically, right? Like within this, okay, you can sort of extract. Some other tools can do this. You can sort of AI chat. So all the general AI chat, put a file in Chinese, prompt in Malay, answer in English also can, right? These are the general AI things. But like, where is AnyGraph good? And where does it actually really shine in terms of like doing work, right? And I think that sort of comes in all that field work aspect, right? And I think in particular will be most useful to a lot of us here. So let me go through and I'll use vouching as a really good example. Right, and I have a file folder here. So here is an example, and in fact, this is a replicate of what actually won us the all of Malaysia contract for one of our very early clients. If you can guess and infer, you could probably figure out who this is. They do for a listed company, they do for a lot of retail, right? So a lot of supermarkets, and one of them was getting ready for IPO, okay? And so their problem statement is they had 90 stores. They have 1.6 million rows of transactions per day. they have 200,000 SKUs across 8 subsidiaries, right? All their subsidiaries, how they manage their point system, their accounting, all of it is completely different. Some are in departmental stores, some are standalone, some are co-assignment, some are owned, some are franchise. All the numbers are completely different, right? And they needed to do sort of a NRV work paper, right? So they have a template work paper like this that is internal to the firm already, right? This is a template example. They also already pre-selected their samples. So they wanted to do 100, 200 samples, right? Per store or per subsidiary, right? So they had like 2,000 rows to sample across 10 copies of these work papers, right? And so they selected this from the MUS, and the client gave them, this is for sales vouching. So they actually did have like sort of the store copy, right? So they had, some of the franchises had system generated that they could export, right? Like this. And some of it was photo of the POS, right? At the end of the day, they printed out the paper, they tick, and then they just took a photo, right? And so they had a combination of all of these kinds of copies, and we needed to go and essentially vouch this, right? And so the way they interacted with it, we could use the product, we could literally set up all these folders of files, we could drag and say, this is my NRV work paper template. They drag this. This is my sample that I want to vouch for. And I can just drag all of this and say, this is all the data dumped from client or invoices and DO, right? And I can just drag that over, right? And I can sort of run that, right? And that's actually what I wrote here at the top and sort of ran, right? So now it's reading how to do vouching and testing all of this. It's going through and it gives this whole draft, right? And so with a lot of AI products, what we want is that AI is always certain. AI always knows that it thinks it knows. And then say, hey, what you do for me is wrong. Say, oh, you're absolutely right. Here's the correct answer, 100% confirm. And like, wait, this is also wrong. Like, oh, you're absolutely right. And then it just goes in this loop. And it gets stupider and stupider and stupider until like you just give up and then like cannot touch AI, right? I think that's a very problem use case. And of course, we share the same models. This can happen on occasion, but the way we've designed this as a product is that, okay, before it starts the work, right, it's gonna articulate a plan, right? Who's ever, like, perhaps when they were a bit more junior, right, their manager come and ask, okay, do this task for me, right? They're not gonna explain 3 hours how to do a task. They will just say, oh, this is last year's file, or this is a template, this is a sample from someone else. You go and read and figure it out. And then if you have any question, come and ask me. And then perhaps you're junior, or perhaps you did this once, a bit too pandai. Oh, actually, I don't need to ask. I think I know. Then you do. 3 days later, you go. Then the manager's like, oh my God, completely wrong. You should have checked with me first, right? And we don't want AI to do this. So what AI is doing now is that it's reading for a lot of difficult work. It's going to articulate its own plan, right? Just like auditors have our own audit work step, the AI will write its own like AI steps. So it's going to say, okay, I'm about to do this. These are all the roles, and if it needs questions, it will ask you, right? So there are some cases of this where an auditor has uploaded, oh, these are my contracts with my contractor, This is a construction company. Please do a MFRS 15, do a revenue recognition on this, and talk about the performance obligations. I want to study this. And then the AI will say, okay, I see your work paper, I see your instructions, but actually this is your contracts with your contractor. This is actually a cost reduction. This is like some discounted rate. This is a cost reduction. It's not a revenue recognition because this is not your service to your end client, right? Like, are you sure about this? And then the AI will actually articulate and sort of double check with you, right? As an example. So here I said, okay, I want you to do this, but for this, give me clickable hyperlinks that I want. I want the rows highlighted, so I don't want to read the PDF, right? And it's going to read, go off and do a lot of this, and then they produce this and say, oh, okay, now add a column for me, include the date for the document. I want this for the invoice and DO, right? You can sort of go back and forth, kind of like an email, right? Or like a Teams chat. You don't have to be formal. You don't have to be technical in how you describe, right? And it'll go and do the work, right? So think of this like a dishwasher or an oven, right? It takes a while. You just start the task and you do something else. It's like your own dedicated junior that you have on hand, right? And so with all of these documents that are given in, right, and flipping through one by one, we could complete this, okay? And you'll notice the formatting, Larry a little bit, right? It's been able to pull down these formats. This, it took directly from the MUS, okay? And then after that, it overrode and included the invoice documents, right? So here are some examples. What do I mean by this, right? So here I see scaffold tower 4M, right? These are the amounts. This is a cost within system. And I need to check that, am I selling at above the cost, right? Are there anything funny, right? So this is the amount that is extracted from the documents. The rest of this is sort of pulled over from the formulas that already exist in the work paper that you just need to double check. But what it's doing most critically is, hey, this one can check or not. How do I know this is true, right? So usually you would manually vouch, and then manager would check your working, right? And understand, okay, they vouch your vouch, right? Or they sample your sample, right? And then they're like, okay, your methodology is correct. I trust the rest, right? Here, now that AI is doing it, we will sample the AI, right? So we check for exceptions, any mistakes from the AI we check, but we also sample a few. So what is the AI doing here? It's put a hyperlink to the document, right? So first of all, we can check that AI had linked the file, but because I asked it to highlight, it highlighted this row. So I don't even need to read the whole document. I can go straight in, scaffold tower 4M, this 1944.88, right? You can go and match, right? And in fact, if you ask it to add a comment to the PDF and link it to what row it is from, also can, right? And it's done that across all of it, right? So now this one, Snap-on Master Toolset 500 piece. I can click this and open, right? Yeah, 8005, right? This one you can highlight and go and do, right? So you can do this across the entirety of the work paper, right? But again, this is not just a vouching only software. Upload all your documents one by one and then ask it to do, and then in error, your format is wrong. It's meant to interact with your own work paper templates, right? So here are some other examples to follow up. Okay, for this set, are there any documents that are missing? I need a list, right? And then I can say that, oh, okay, yes, you're right. I'm missing some amount of invoice, DO, GRN, all of this, right? These are the total list of items that are missing, right? Oh, you can produce an Excel, right? So now I can follow up, give this to client, right? Or I already have a request from client list. I say, okay, update the master Excel for request from client. What they give already, tick off, right? Or green or whatever the methodology is with the firm, right? Update that request from client. Give me the updated list. I want to resend. Today is Monday morning, right? I want to update and chase, right? You can sort of articulate that with the AI, right? And it can go through, right? So this is essentially all the power of AI and general context and research. I think one limitation is that the understanding of standard versus the application of standard is a bit different. We managed to close that gap really heavily, but also added that ability to actually do work, right? So these are all the sort of tedious capabilities. Transaction testing for vouching, looking at payroll schedules, looking at JE testing, looking at amortization of assets, all of this. Any kind of like piece of work where there's a work paper, there's a soft copy of document, right? This sort of product can work with you, right? And of course, you still need to look at the documents and review, and the way you work changes, right? Now it's like you become like it's almost like a half promotion, right? You become a bit more senior. Now you sort of have to manage work that isn't produced by you, right? And this sort of extends and scales as you develop in your career, right? I think, can you shift to more higher impact work, right? There is no reason we need to, one company, 8 subsidiary, the GL cannot fit in Excel. They give you 2 ledgers per month. So suddenly it's 8 times 24. One company, you have like 200 over GLs, it got sort, right? Like there's no reason we need to do this anymore, right? I think another capability to sort of share for like the little bit more senior kinds of work is sort of this audit sort of judgment types of work, right? So I think big ones for a lot of the bit more senior associate manager kind of roles will be where there's some degree of judgment that you got to think and articulate and sort of reference back to standards. Here I have some examples where we're doing work like vouching and call overcasting. So this is a published one. So this is like sort of public data, right? This is a AR annual report. You can go and call over and cast, right? And produce this, right? Where it's going through all the checks internally, right? If you have specific things that you want to check for, it can also take, right? This one, it's only referencing against itself, but typically what you have is you have the Word doc version and the client copy, the PDF, and the latest updated one, and you compare the draft with their latest final, right? How many times is it like VF final, V16, V11, right? How many times do you iterate? You send to client update the old version, your update also missing, alamak, got to double check again, right? All these kinds of things. Now you can chunk it into the AI. Probably takes 20-30 minutes to do one call over casting, anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on the size, right? So here are some examples. This is already published, by the way, right? Where it's saying, note to the financial statements, right? And they've gone and mixed this up across these couple of many different pages. All the sub-numberings is gone, slight inconsistencies, prose quality did not recognized, right? She did not recognize any impairment, right? Or have not recognized, right? It's also said include internally, it wrote include internalia, right? All these like random typos can sort of slip through, right? And all of this, right? Profit loss versus earning loss, decrease or increase, capital or not, right? Or sign directions, right? And all this, but most critically with the casting and the numbers, right? So these are ones where it's actually flagged as like actual real material issues where all the casting of the numbers don't tally, right? And they can go and highlight and reflect this, right? Of course, AI in all these things, we need to design it to be a false positive instead of false negative, right? We want AI to be a bit more cautious. Most of the time, we want it to say, if you are unsure, you go and say you're unsure, and then let a human with all the context of all the related disclosures and how they recognize this, let a human go and double check, but flag out all the things that I need to check, right? So this is one such example. And I think the other example with like a disclosure checklist looks like this, where going through, and this is for listed codes, right? But there are all sorts of other kind of like internal controls checklists or risk management checklists. This is the kind of output, right? So for entity measured fair value goods that are disclosed, right? It's going through and saying yes, no, not applicable, and it's actually pulling out the actual values, right? So all of this from column E onwards, right? It's filling in a 2000 row checklist. And it's saying yes, no, not applicable, and it's writing down, it's saying the exact code, where is this from, and pulling out the values, right? Okay, and this is what it looks like, right? And this is all illustrative, right? It's kind of like saying, oh, if I have Word doc and I can type an essay, does that mean I can type a memo also? Answers yes. Or if I can type an AR, does that mean I can type a FS? I mean, the answer is yes. It's a tool, right? The same is true for AI. So any sort of capabilities across, these ones. What are some other examples? This is looking at, let me close these. Yeah, like all these like financial transactions of credit balances, mapping that against like their work paper or transactions across all of these things, right? Possible to be done. Any other examples of like lease computations? So taking a tenancy agreement, right? And then producing, okay, here's a memo of a lease assessment, right? So all the scoping for the leasee, for the lessor, right? You can do that, right? I think any AI today is actually not bad. Like you can get a pretty good first cut, but can it do it in the firm's methodology, right? In the more work papers, right? Our product can do. And in fact, you can go and flag out and talk about all the different kinds of setup details, right? Can you then take it and say, okay, I want to do this based on you can follow up and prompt, right? I have it here. Okay, discount rate is 4%. Okay, now do a right of use and lease liability calculation. And you can sort of do that as well. Right? And you can produce this. Right? Produce the lease liability, produce the ROU asset, right? And internally with the product, how are we sure that we can trust the output? I think there's multiple levels of this, right? Fundamentally, because AI and the way we've constructed it is, AI is generative, it will invent an answer. With the product, we are inventing code, right? So it's deciding what is the formula to pivot table, right? So it's never going to simply create. The way it works is, it's going to write the pivot table. It's going to write the sum formula, right, to then interact with the file such that every time after that, it will produce the same output, right? So it's kind of like you have two different associates. If you get two different associates to do a task, they might have different opinions of judgment. But if you ask the same person, oh, how did you choose it? Why did you choose it this way? He's like, this is all my working. I remember how I did it, right? That's the way our AI product works, right? So it'll remember all of this through code. And in fact, it has all these summaries and checks, right? So it's checking that all the liability match with, all of these values tie up. For typical things, credit, tally with debit, so on and so forth. In a PDF extraction, if there's a total that's hard written at the bottom, and I can copy and paste that text, if I sum the whole column, if I sum all my calculation, it should sum to the total that's hard coded, right? It will do all these checks, right? In the same sense that call over casting is not the work output, it is a check of a FS, right, or an annual report, right? The same is true for all other kinds of work. There is some kind of quality assurance check that we have in place for all the kinds of work papers that we actually do, right? And in fact, whenever it has issues, it will sometimes flag out, oh, these documents, I could OCR, right? We built in a small language model internally such that it could do machine ML and extract data without tokens, right? So you can extract this PDF. This one is nice. This one is a picture of a scan copy. Not nice. I had to use AI vision. I'm unsure, right? Cases where there's suddenly like 2 decimal places, obviously that's wrong, right? Then as humans, we flag up. But the point is, AI can help with the majority. Now we sort of do that exception testing, right? We look at exceptions as opposed to just like sample in between and accidentally miss out, right? So collectively, I think the product, very, very interesting for us. Hopefully this is interesting for the team, right? Any kind of like data extraction, processing, cleaning, especially across like different file formats, right? So I have multiple subsidiaries. How they do their point system is different, or they have different software, right? Is different. How do I consolidate it, right? Or this is how do I do an interco matrix or consolidation, right? Their P&L, their accounts are different. I need to consolidate their lead schedules or map their TPs together, right? Like I need to map all these account codes. The product is very good at that, where there's soft copy data, but it's like very, very confusing or different, right? You can actually work inside of your work paper, produce that first cut and sort of write for you, and any kind of like this sort of review sort of work, right? And I think this is at its core what our product is. Any questions so far before I sort of move on and go into like the live sessions where everyone can sort of start? Are there any chats here? Yeah, any questions or anything? All right, great.
May feel free to ask question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is like your previous history, or is it like the option where we can choose?
So this is my previous history. Right? The options to choose, we are having a chat library after that. But usually what we recommend, I think the point is everything it can sort of help. Right? So the way we think about it is you have like, you can start like if you're unfamiliar, you can say like, what are the workflows you have for me? Right? Or what I've done is you can upload the files and then say like, oh, I'm trying to do this. What do you think? Right? And then it can think and help give a baseline. Right? If it already has a skill for this, it will do very, very well. We've sort of writing and building all this in, and we're sort of aligning with the current June end cycle so that we are like producing a lot more capabilities along together at the same time. Yeah, if otherwise anyone needs help with that final bit of in-source, I see some of it.
Okay, let me just do a quick roll check first. I think Penang team, firstly, the installation all done now, right? Anyone that has problem? Because I think JB, we have one colleagues actually cannot manage to install. That one I think we will settle offline, no issue. So Penang team all good? Thank you. Then I think PJ team, I think is on site, so it's easier. So Brian can actually assist. Okay. Can I think so any question that you want to ask? I mean, beside the installation that you all want to to assist. I suppose I think Brian has done a very good. Brian has done a very good sharing just now in terms of like the prompting. You know, what can you do for me? Remember, see, he actually asked, because some of us actually we are not very sure. All right, this AnyGraph tool, if I may just share with all, right? I mean, as compare or as versus other tool in the market, of which I think more team actually we are also using, or they are actually testing other tool as well. Right. So, but apparently, like for example, another tool which is called Data Snipper, right, which is a very good tool. But I think, as compared to AnyGraph, one of the big difference is, right, other tools, right, a lot of time the function are being kept inside the tool itself. For example, Excel is embedded in Excel, so you can see actually those like function in the ribbon. So you can choose this function. What do I want the tool to do, right? Flatten GL, extract data, etc. As compared to that, those are very rigid, right? But if you look at what you see on screen now, it's very human. It's like you are actually, if you are able to give instruction to your associates, or if you are associate yourself, if you know exactly what you are being asked to do, you can actually instruct the agent to do it for you, right? But of course, having said that, if you're not very sure of what to do, then I think it's unfair to get the agent to do for you. Like you cannot ask open question like, please do the audit work for me. I think that one is very open question, isn't it? So if you're able to give instruction, you can do. But how to give instruction? So Brian has actually shared with you, right? You can ask the tool after your installation later. Then you can say, okay, what can you do for me? How do I prompt? How do I provide instruction? So at least then you can go through those examples, right? Then you can see like what the examples actually, those like sample prompting, sample sentence structure, although it can be very freeform, right? So, but of course, if let's say we are more precise in what to do, I think then the agent can actually do a better work for us, right? Thank you.
Yes.
If we use the AI,
Thank you.
we will not have the name to for confidential purpose. So for this one,
This one is perfectly fine. You can just upload anything. Yeah.
I think probably one of the questions that was raised is a lot of AI tool that we're using outside. You need to upload the document, and let's be very mindful. During the training, you already say you cannot upload document. I mean, you must turn off certain setting, otherwise then the document will be gone to the cloud. See? But for this AnyGraph, I think currently whatever you there's no uploading, right? Whatever the tools is actually managing, is actually in your local computer. All right, so that's where the security is.
Right.
Okay.
The way it works is the AI, we send out the instruction, what we describe, let's say I do like a GL, the way it interacts is this. So it will go and check, it will go and see, okay, what's in my folder first? It will go and read and say, oh, I see all these GLs here, right? And then I say, oh, okay, you were talking about this file, not all these other GL. Then it will go and read the file, and then it will look at the columns. So it's actually taking the columns, right? And then after that, and I can sort of share this in GL reveal. On my computer, it is actually creating little folders where it can do work with Scratch and script. Okay, so this one you don't need to see, but all these interim folders is creating. So it's producing all these like summary calculations and extracting the data. And it's writing script. So all of this is code, okay? So the AI is reading this and say, oh, I see what the columns are, right? And then it will go and write a code to pivot table to flatten it. And then it stays on your local, and then it runs the file, it runs the code on the file on your machine so that the document actually never leaves out. So this is why for AnyGraph is actually okay. It's very difficult to like build compared to using cloud, right? But it's a lot easier because now everyone's computers, you can just process the file a lot safer.
I mean, Brian, just a question. I think those scripts like the Python script or those, it will be installed, it will be saved inside the respective user's laptop, right?
Correct. if they
It's a
work on
temporary
a,
form, they get deleted.
so the way I treat this is similar to actually it will be in a little two folders here lah. So in wherever it's working, there'll just be two folders. Inside, no need to see. It has a lot of files. A lot of the files are small because it's plain text. Yeah, it's like 8 kilobytes and all. This is very, very small. I treat this kind of like if I do vouching, you know, we will have the document vouching, and we will link and keep all the documents. The moment that auditors sign off and check and say, okay, a human has reviewed and can close off, they delete the hyperlinks. To me, it's the same, right? Like, okay, I've reviewed that the output is satisfactory to me, right? How I got to that final output is sort of okay already. I trust that judgment. Then I can sort of close the file. I would keep all of this until I finish that piece of work, I would say.
Noted.
We don't give the AI the ability to delete, but at the end you can just like right click delete the folder. But for like working in your file, you can ask it to delete rows and columns and interact with your Excel. But like we don't want AI to, okay, looks good, I've done my job, this is 100% perfect, and then just like wipe and randomly delete files. We don't want AI to ever do that. Yeah. I think some general sharing tips is like whenever we prompt and use the AI, the way I've been using it, if you notice, is like very much like a human, like a colleague. So oftentimes, right, people will ask me, hey, how do I do this task? I say, okay, like I am not an auditor, or like I don't know who. Right? And I just want to look at the invoice listing and the payment listing. I want to consolidate all of this, and I want two sheets. One is only for invoice, one is for listing, and I need you to tell me where it comes from, right? And then you go and do this, and then it will go and consolidate and give me this, right? And in fact, they will say, oh, actually, there's a difference. Some of the files halfway, they changed, right? I had to swap some of these columns, right? And then it turns out, true, because the in-house accountant for the client changed halfway in the year. So then they just changed the columns, right? And the AI picked that up and then consolidated and matched that, right? And then after that, okay, now I have a clean Excel. I say, okay, there's column B. Then these are the DPL, which is duplicate. I want to ignore it. Add fund. This is an advance payment. Actually, it's not an invoice, but they put it in the workbook, right? And then I'm looking at this, right? So as they like verbally said this to me, I just typed it exactly, right? And it's like semi-long, right? But it's quite plain English, right? And all of this, right? Like I think that's one way to think about using it, right? You'll notice that I was working on one file here already, but then I created on the same file, I created a new chat, right? And there's a few reasons for this. The way to create a new chat is you click new agent at the top. So do I have to re-type everything and re-instruct the AI every time I do a new task? Right? I think AI does that, right? Like it doesn't have memory. The answer here is that it has a bit of memory. So the reason I keep creating a new task is because of this. There is something called context, okay? So context is its brain storage, right? And the way I describe this is like Google or any kind of search engine, if you ask something very specifically, it will do a very good job. But the moment you ask for something that is more and more detailed, it's sort of blurry a little bit, right? So for example, if I say, if I go to a new tab, right, and I say, what phone number is Maxis, right? So let's say I have this, right? So whose phone number is this, right? I can sort of say this, right? And it can say, oh, it's Maxis, right? You can sort of search it up and it's Maxis. The moment, imagine like on a Google search engine, I like ask, and there's like more numbers in between, right? Like imagine you're prompting AI and you're saying more and more and more, and like you keep adding these numbers, right? And then like, oh, like gone already. It doesn't match. When you see what happened? It can find. Suddenly there's too much and then boom. Like, because there's no information in the world about all of this. So the same is true for AI, right? So if you keep talking and talking, suddenly, right, if I'm saying I want to search for invoice listing, it knows what to do. But now it's like Googling all of this, right? You're like asking AI all of this, including code halfway, random numbers. The context gets very, very large, and then it becomes stupid. So that's the reason why AI can get stupid halfway along the way, right? It's because its brain capacity to understand lies, right? So that's why like I generally start new sessions for any new task. Another reason for this is I hit a checkpoint. This output of the file is good already, right? I've done the data cleaning. I want to stop here before I move on, right? Otherwise, you go and masak the file. And like, oh my God, what is this? All wrong. You have to like restart from scratch, right? I don't know if this happens. Even for me, doing it manually, sometimes I should have saved the copy. Something has gone wrong with this model, gone already, have to restart, right? That's one mindset. And then the other mindset is sort of like treat it like a human, right? A sort of prompt in English.
So the exit.
Correct. It will compact. So even if it goes too full, it will use AI to summarize on top. But AI summarize the AI that the AI summarize is like a question mark, right? Like usually it's better that a human controls that. Now, secretly, internally, whenever it does work, it's actually writing all these task MD, right? So it's this own audit steps that it's doing, right? And it will go and write down all the steps that it's doing halfway. Okay. Now, one key thing is that it has memory. Okay. So it actually will internally for that particular client, it will know what's the key differences. So it's working, right? And it will keep all of these notes at the bottom, right? And it's going to write down instructions. So it's going to write down different copies of instructions so that it helps with the memory, right? So the reason for this is, for example, this particular company, they did a restructure. Their financial year changed. So they changed from July to December year end. So this year is only 18 months. So their previous file is 12 months, but this year is 18 months. So because it has written this, any follow-up AI agent that's working on these clients will go and read and share and like, oh, actually it's 18 months. So my work paper should be 18 months because it will read and remember from all the other things that it's learned from this file. So if you do a work and it stops halfway, you can like stop it, click new agent, you can say continue, and it will read and say, I only did halfway. These were blank, right? It didn't checklist. I will continue this job. It will know what to do already. You don't need to restart from scratch. So that's how AI can do. What you'll also be receiving from me, I'll create a Teams chat that we can all be in, and any sort of questions. I think people a bit shy to like put in the group chat, especially if you've got like partner inside and the stupid question I'm scared to ask. Hey, you ask for me, or like okay, never mind, right? You can like PM me on the side, right? But you also get an onboarding email that has like a bit more everything I covered, all the instructions, how some demos, what are the buttons, all these different things will be inside the email that you'll receive at some point today from me. But yeah, I think that covers the actual formal session of today. I think what I love to see is like, if the people have active work, I think I took up 1 hour of your time, right, that you could have spent doing audit work. Like, can we attempt to do some amount of work, and then can I like help you prompt the AI now to just get started, to get a feeling and sort of see it, right? So now is that sort of free form session. But yeah, any closing questions, closing comments, maybe CK or anything?
Nope. I think probably like what you mentioned just now, the MS team group will be good. So I think once, likewise, I think we have created one for our tax team. So effectively, when the team member or the test team from like Penang, PJ and JB has a question, feel free to actually ask inside like what Brian said, right? Okay, if we have certain tasks that you would like to do, but you're not very sure about the effective prompting, you can actually ask. So then Brian can actually help to give some tips on that. And I suppose, like what you mentioned just now, the new agent, whether to be set up or not, there will be a time whereby we actually improve on our own prompting, right? From 5 rounds of asking or 5 steps of asking to only 1. So I suppose if let's say we found those like effective prompting, we can actually save that one, all right, in our internal prompt library so that all team members can actually use to refer us. All right. So these are things that we can actually improve along the way, lah. Right?
Yeah.
So that's all from my side. So Brian, you want to do some ad hoc like live thing, is it, to demo to all, is it?
So I think what I want, especially with the PJ team, I think if people wanna try and attempt, or if they have any issues or don't know how to prompt, they can like either share screen or like send me the file and like I run it on my session and sort of share with everyone, right? But the people here in the PJ office, I can sort of like ad hoc walk around and sort of help out. But if people have like follow-up meetings and all of that, lunch plan, please feel free. The formal aspect is over, but really now, like, I am just here to be of service to help lah. I think that's the intention. I put it.
So you have, PG team has any live case to share very quickly, so that at least then the Penang and JB team can also see like any task that you want to test out for now? Nope. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's a mixture of models. The main one that we are playing with is we are interacting with that. We are very keen to shift to 5.6 Sol. The latest one that came out a few days ago, that was very, very good. We also have an inbuilt LLM, so SLM, a small one. So that runs like some ML data extraction, right, from documents. And then for like very small tasks, we have like a open source smaller models that we run, and then that does like the cheaper. Like you don't need a rocket scientist to do your GL cleaning, for example. Usually that. Interesting. For laptop. But the rest okay. The other ones. Oh, same issue, is it? Where was the error? Let me see that. This is the first. Do you know the pop-up? Was it a Microsoft Defender? Do you know what? Adaptive defense. Let me get 1 second.
Sure. So Brian, there are some laptops with problem of installation, is it?
Yeah. So I'll try out.
So you settled them. Yeah, so I think if that's the case, then I think probably Penang team and JB team, we can also leave first. I think PJ team, Rishong, probably you can just help to I know you're there, so probably you can just help to coordinate lah, because I'm not there personally. So Brian, would you be able to see because one of our JB colleagues cannot install, so probably I can get her to do a quick share screen to see what went wrong for her. Then at least we can close the JB chapter and Penang chapter lah. So while you are settling some of the leftover in PJ, and Rishong would actually see you out later lah. Let me get Shakira. Can you share the screen? There's a share screen downstairs. Brian, can you see, it's okay. Can you see her problem? You want to take over the screen?
Okay, let me see. I can see now.
Okay.
Oh,
Extract. Or you want to rerun again?
let me start troubleshooting.
You can take control. Huh?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me ask some technical help. This is new.
Okay, 那我们就可以去照着你们原本的计划进行了哈。Latin distribution.
For the one that failed, the extract error,
Yeah.
try to cancel the installation
Hmm.
and reinstall. I think this is because there was a partial install or something.
Okay, so I cancel, then reinstall again lah.
I think try that. That one might help. For the other ones who have this. Okay. Adaptive. Oh, very interesting.
Downloaded twice. Eh?
To get in touch with Morris IT. I think Morris IT has blocked.
Okay, let us try again.
Yeah, can. Yeah.
Okay, so we try again. Any graph?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But this one we cannot click next really.
Can. Oh, because this JB computer is, oh my goodness, have 1.5 gig left. I think not enough space in the computer. That's why.
Okay, so it's mainly because of storage issue, like is it?
Yeah, not enough storage.
Okay. So I think we will sort out the storage. Then I think we would install again. No issue on that. Ken, so any further question? Then probably we'll stop share from here lah.
Can.
And thank you. So if we are all good, then probably I think we can adjourn the meeting in a way. So I think JP will sign out from here lah. I think Penang team are already sort of like signing out also. PJ team, as I said, I think Wee Siong would probably see you all later lah. So I think meanwhile, we wait for your MS Team creation. Then everybody can actually ask questions in that MS Team chat group, which is more centralized. And just for the benefit of all, our trial version is actually valid for 1 month. So please make good use of this 1 month to test out whatever you want to test. But in more like a systematic manner. So I suppose Penang team, JB team, and also PJ team would actually prepare a lot to record what we have tested and also the questions, so that we can actually do a weekly checkpoint meeting. So otherwise, then time flies when we're all on the work. then the 1 month passed already lah. Huh? All right. So thank you very much. So I touch base with all of you again after 1 week. Thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you all. If any questions, I'll stay on the line as well, just in case. But other than that, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, have a good day.